So I mentioned this to you. Here's my underlying question. What is a man? And if it matters, in parentheses, in 2019.
What is a man in 2019? I don't
What-
want to answer this. What's up, everybody?
Hello, welcome to the podcast.
What's
We're
up,
here.
bro?
I have so much to tell you.
Oh, good.
This is going to be the least natural conversation. I'm just going to refer to my phone the
Yeah,
whole
it's
time.
good. This is what happens when we hang out.
So we talked about this a couple weeks ago. The whole Equinox scandal,
Yes.
where the investor had some sort of Trump meeting rally where you could pay $100,000 for a photo with the president. Everybody got upset. People started canceling their Equinoxes. I have the stats.
Okay.
Nationwide and at our Santa Monica location. So I'm curious what you think percentage of people left in both scenarios. And you can play at home as well. New York Times wrote an
1%.
article. You nailed it.
Did I?
It was 1% nationwide.
Nice.
Yeah. It's 1% nationwide. And we had the second most cancels in our Santa Monica location, which is, I don't know how many, but it was, they said 250 people at our location left. And it's got roughly 3,000 to 4,000 total in the gym.
So 8%.
Ish. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So we were one of the big ones.
Nice.
It's one of the most active.
And was this,
activists.
how big of a scandal was this for Equinox? Was it
1% of the scandal?
But I'm saying, how big did it look from the outside? Were people like, oh, this is a national
I think
scandal?
this is a lesson generally with the news and with life is if you're answering the phones on that day, the sky is falling.
Yeah.
Because 25 people canceled in my shift, and I've never had a day like this. And for people, we're talking about it for a day.
And if you're at corporate, you're just like, all right.
But not. Here's the thing: if you're reading the papers, if you're looking at the news, if you're doing all this, it sounds like the end times.
Yeah, get a new job.
But we've talked about this. It's tough to just like slow down, leave the office, take a vacation, maybe come back in 5 days, clear your head, and then address what's happened as it is. And of course, 1% of people leaving, even if it's above and beyond what normally happens, because there's a normal attrition
Yeah, it's not
rate.
going to kill the business.
No, it's not going to notice. It's
Yeah.
not going to be noticed by the business at all, which is just interesting. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that people seem to be upset and then don't.
Well, the action, no one, like the amount of effort it takes to make a tweet versus to call up the gym and cancel, and then I'm sure when they make
Find
it hard
a
to
new
cancel, they have
gym.
to like go in.
Assume they don't. Assume that you have to
Yeah,
just
now you got to
find a new
gym to work out at. Yeah,
Get
so
another.
no, it's much easier to just be like, this is ridiculous.
Well,
and then not do anything.
here's the other possibility is that nobody was actually that upset, that it was a small echo chamber of the 1% of people who did actually wind up canceling and say they went on a 1-to-1 complain to cancel ratio.
You'd have 1,000 people
You'd have,
on the internet.
but it was just
complaining.
exactly. So this is the weird thing where the news is now reporting what people are tweeting as if it's a phenomenon.
Yeah.
And it's
Have you noticed that news has started to cite
tweets from nobody.
Yeah. People are saying, and then they just have two tweets.
Two
You're
or
like,
three. And like, that's a person, that's a people.
There's 7 billion people on the planet.
Yeah, I know.
We just get to find 3 tweets and
that
go, people are saying.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy how weird that stuff's gotten. So
Easy
that was
to be a journalist.
yeah. There was a whole bag of weeds with that, but I got too much, man. We can't even slow down.
All right,
today.
next. F transitions all around.
So this, Steam, you might not know Steam.
Yeah.
Steam is the video game that you can play on your computer. It's a platform to buy video games from developers, some of whom are indie developers. There was a European agreement that they have to allow the resale of digital games. Meaning that what you used to do, and if you might have remembered, you had a video game, you go to GameStop, you bought your game for $60, you go back a week later, you sell it for $8 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And then nobody wanted to really buy resold games because who knows if the cartridge would work and you have to blow on it. It's completely different with digital because a digital copy is
identical.
Perfect.
Yeah, you can't scratch it.
And so I don't know how this is going to happen, but why would anyone ever, unless you're getting on the first day where there's only there's going to be
question, how do they make sure I delete it if I sell it to you?
I think they will have license keys, which you will.
So it's not like I can buy it, sell it to you, you sell it to Angel.
So take
but we're all
Microsoft
playing it
Word
together.
for example.
Got it. Okay.
That you could, and maybe
It's
they'll
got a
be,
serial number.
Yes.
That one can only be played on one console.
Yes.
Got
And
it.
the thing, unlike Word or Excel, is that you play it. The value of a video game is you might spend $60 and play it for 100 hours in a month and then never touch it again.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I actually read that, and I'm generally like super internet, freedom. But I read that and was like, man, that's not good for these indie developers.
Oh, you think it's going to kill them?
Yeah. Now, so why? I guess here's the issue. If you are capable of huge launches, which is when there's a demand and everybody has to get theirs on the first day, great. But let's say that you have a slow burn game it's an up and coming cult hit, doesn't get a ton of sales on the first day, but people positively review it after they've beat it.
Right.
Now every sale that you make, you don't get a cut of.
Yeah.
And it's going to incentivize, and what people are saying is this games as a subscription, which why would you put effort into making an amazing $60 one-time game that is going to get played by 10 different people, when instead you can do a Fortnite free to download, $2 for this skin, $4 for this skin, $8 to open this loot box.
And this law already passed, or they're talking about passing?
I think it passed in Europe.
Why'd they do it?
Well, what people are saying, tweets, there was 2 of them.
Yeah.
I don't know any of this, but it seems that they... there's always these things that are nonsensical to me when lawmakers write about the internet. It seems, I guess, because they're going, there's a physical copy, you can do this, you're technically buying a purchase of this. If you own it, why can't you resell something that you own?
Yeah.
And I guess the reason for me, if I was completely uneducated saying this, is because we want to protect a bit of the innovation that's occurring in this industry, and allowing the resale of a digital product like that doesn't, or it's just, and we'll see what capitalism does with this. I think it's going to incentivize free games that you pay $2, $4, $6 to open up later levels in. Yeah. And so you resell that game to your friend. Guess what? It's free to resell to your friend, no problem. Except if he wants to play level 2, that'll be $10. Yeah. So I think you're gonna, if that spreads and proliferates, you're gonna see a different type of video game.
Well, why video games and not music and everything else?
Yeah.
Right? Why not movies?
I don't know.
Because if they do this to everyone, there's going to be a absolute uprising.
Well, because think about that. That's a great question.
I buy a movie on iTunes, right?
I watch it once.
I'm done. Dude, I'm done within a day.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, now I'm going to sell it for 90% of what I bought it for.
And some of them, like Avengers, when that came out, they did not have a rent option. So normally you get the 48-hour rent option on YouTube or Amazon.
Yeah, they wanted to get that money.
They had a $20 sale, and it was Endgame, and I wanted to see it again. Dude, and I spent $20.
I'll sell it 4 hours later.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy it, and then 90% of the money back
for
in 4 hours.
Yeah. Or I give it to you. I mean, here's the thing. Immediately, the value of it would drop to $1 or $2. But what the heck? If it's easy, and some service is going to step in to make that transaction easy.
But here's the thing. The amount of money lost by the movie producing studio is massive, because you buy it for 20.
Yeah.
You're like, I'll sell it for 18. The guy goes, no, this guy's selling it for 3.
I'll sell for 3.
You go, fine, I'll sell it for $2. But the movie studio lost out on $20.
All of that. Yeah.
So
I don't know.
I think you can almost pick on video games because they're smaller. I think you couldn't do this to.
You know what's crazy is they're not smaller. Video games are a way larger industry than Hollywood. What they might not have is the same governmental influence.
They don't have the same big studios.
Yes. Or who knows?
Well, the big ones aren't hurt by this. The Fortnites of the world are already making money this way.
The biggest video game in the world doesn't care if you can resell Fortnite.
No, yeah. Who you hurt
free.
Is the person who
put their heart and soul into making this. The 50-hour journey with a beautiful story. And you finish it, and you don't need to play it again because there was a big reveal at the end.
Actually, what's funny is if this legislation had hurt mobile games, it wouldn't have passed.
Yeah,
because mobile gaming is where all the money is.
They tried to ban loot boxes. You could imagine that.
No, yeah. Oh, it would be squashed in a heartbeat.
Or you can't resell skins to kids.
This doesn't hurt mobile, and this doesn't hurt Fortnite. Mm-hmm. It hurts the RPGs, and they're smaller.
Yeah.
No, if they tried to do this in some way that would rip out 80% of the revenue from the mobile games, be over in a heartbeat.
I think you're right. Okay. F transition. So I was reading another Dan Ariely book. I kind of told you a little bit about it. So Dan Ariely wrote Predictably Irrational. He is a behavioral economist. Mm-hmm. So he looks at, he breaks the idea, Adam Smith, that people are perfectly rational actors in an economy who are just trying to maximize their return on investment. And he looks at the irrational things that people do. And it's an interesting book I was reading. It's called Payoff. It's one of his shorter ones. It's kind of a repeat. And I'm looking at it, and it talks about the value of praise, which I believe in, and the value of this. But there's a huge leap that I think is occurring in all of this, and every stat ever, and it's the reason in many cases that I don't cite anything on Charisma on Command. I just go off my own anecdotal experience, which I think is just as strong as these studies in many cases. And it's because he'll do a study of 300 Duke students, which is where he's a guy, which is where he's a professor, building bionicles, and he'll pay them $4 per bionicle that they build, and then he decreases the amount and then measures how many Lego bionicles they build in different circumstances, when they're praised, when they're not praised, when they're this.
When they're paid $4 versus $2.
Yeah. And then he goes, you know, they will make 45% more bionicles if they're praised. And so just imagine that in the workplace. And it's like, why would we ever take a sample of Duke students and apply that to the world at large and say that we understand something about human nature at this point? It seems so red herring, ludicrous. Like, don't even fall for it for a second. Because if you try to study the demographics, meaning if you took a sample of Duke students' age or Duke students' gender,
the whole world
is from 18 to 22. What do you know? 98% of people,
and they're all alcoholics.
The
whole world is alcoholics.
Yeah, and they drink this much, and this is how they respond when they get an F on a
And we should stop selling high-level alcohol and just go straight for Coors Light, guys.
Yeah, and then saying this.
Yeah, what you're saying is
any insight into human nature.
Yeah, when you have a world where people make between 40 grand.
And I like Dan Ariely. I actually really like the guy. I think he's got fascinating studies.
Yeah, but what you're saying is when you have a world where people make from 40 grand to $1 million and they're working and they're 35 and you try to go, well, we were able to pay 18-year-olds half as much, which by the way means $2 versus $4, aka no one cares about that much money. If we praise them, so let's take all the lawyers we have, and instead of paying them $400 grand a year, we'll pay them $200 grand a year.
And they'll be happier.
And we'll praise them
and
every
they'll appreciate
week.
it more.
It's like, this might not work with the mortgage and the kids, and the fact that instead of $2, we're talking about 200,000. It's like, why would this port directly to anything?
And there's a lot of...
Unless you want to motivate college kids to build bionics.
Well, they talk about, and some of these break completely. This isn't a Dan Ariely, but there was a study done on how people handle fairness in terms of bargaining and negotiating. And you do it in America amongst, assume it, you could do it against older, younger, you get one response. When you do it in Asian cultures where saving face becomes important, all of a sudden you have people racing to sort of pick up the check, to not let someone where we're going to be more capitalist and like quid pro quo. They're trying to appear in some of these studies as if they need you less or like richer. They're not going to let you give them too much because that would besmirch their honor or something. And again, to say that we have any insight into human nature based on some of these studies is such an overreach.
Yeah, what you have is maybe some insight into the culture that you're studying.
Exactly. So I think that and one of the reasons that I don't use these studies, and I could probably rattle off 5 reasons. One is that the headline then jumps so far. Like the study.
We talk about the photo one. I think we've already talked about
we don't need to drain on it.
When a woman looks at a photo of a man and he's not smiling, sometimes it's ranked more attractive.
Pretend every time.
And then the headline runs, men more attractive when they don't smile.
Yeah.
Like, this is insanity. Yeah. We're not photos.
This isn't what happened. A couple of 22-year-old women at some university somewhere said that they liked photos of guys in white smiling t-shirts where they weren't smiling.
Yeah. No, it's ridiculous.
So
they're unreplicatable. They don't apply to the real world.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm reading the book, and I think directionally it matches my experience, which it says that...
Well, it sounds good. That's its greatest strength. Sure. I like predictably irrational for the record, but it sounds so interesting when you're reading it. It gives you a lot of, and it feels good because you're like, I've learned about myself and about humans.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it's so popular.
He did run a study at a company where they let him set up the incentive structure, and my eyes perked up for that. And I was like, okay, this at least is a...
What did it say?
So it was about, it was interesting. It was about monetary bonuses. I'll give you the brief overview. It was a company that made stuff, and they made stuff on an 8-day cycle. And they had, I believe, 8 days on, 4 days off. So the first day back, they believed that people would be low motivated. So just for that first day, there was a bonus based on how much you produced. And they were offering monetary bonuses. So what he said is they let him in, and he's like, can I set up different things, and who knows how these interacted with each other and affected, but he set up, okay, we're going to keep your monetary bonus. I'm going to offer people a pizza voucher, and I'm going to have their manager text them and say really good job if they do well. What happens? And what he found, which to me this is interesting because at least we're in a workplace at this point, is that people did, I think the improvements on the first day were relatively similar, close-ish enough. But what happened is on day 2, people who were paid did less
Sure.
than in the other scenarios. Because it's
The money's not there anymore.
well, I'm doing this for the money.
Yep.
Is a 1-for-1 trade.
Sure.
Versus I made my boss happy. That's like it's got a higher time horizon.
Finance is smart about this because you don't get a daily bonus.
Yeah.
You get one bonus a year, and it's going to be 3 times your salary, or twice your salary, or the same as your salary.
Yeah.
So the amount of money at stake is huge, and they don't decide till 12 months later. So every day is basically like that day where you're like, if I screw up today, I could cost myself a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so it's very high stakes and very stressful, and
Got it. And who
good
knows?
for motivating. It's not so good for
You get people in the office
the
late.
old psyche.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is he tried to measure how does this affect performance, which is tough in some industries that are more creative versus some where this is just a production industry. But yeah, found that praise was the best. And he said, I think, because the thing is we couldn't give them pizzas. Like I wanted to deliver pizzas to their house, but it was unfeasible. So the pizza voucher was like not as good. But I think if we could have given in these pizzas to their family and had them been like, oh, it's dad brought pizza home, like that would have been a powerful motivator as well.
For sure. Again, though, I have to assume that the bonus, if you're comparing it to pizza, I have to assume the bonus is like a $10 bonus.
It was I don't know what it was, like $30 or something.
Sure. And I don't know what their salary is, but how much praise, how much money, how much pizza, these things matter.
Of course, and you can't say that praise is more valuable than money. He goes, well, how much?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Certainly, the people that I know that pull the most 80 to 120-hour weeks do it because they're literally saving lives, i.e. like, what is it called? EMT? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like EMT and ER doctors. Or it's people making a lot of money, like the most money. And those are the people who will literally work themselves to death with 120-hour weeks. Yeah. So money's a pretty good motivator if you have it in a high enough number.
Sure. Yeah, and I was reading this. I was, and then I go back to my like Eastern book that I'm reading and go, who cares about motivation?
Dude, can I tell you? Here's an A transition for you. So I was talking to a friend of ours who's very successful. He's already sold a business to a big corporation. He's got millions of dollars. He's working on his second business. And I was texting him about coming to this psilocybin retreat that we're going to in Europe. And he said, I don't want to go to that because it's too far, but I'll go to something in LA. And we're going back and forth. I go, why don't you go do Vipassana? You've done a 10-day silent retreat, and you said it was life-changing. Why don't you just go do that if you're looking? Because he said, I'm looking for something. Yeah. I need something. I'm not in a good place. And he said, I want to do that, but the problem is that when I go to Vipassana, it makes me want to just give up all my self-inflicted misery in the pursuit of peace and happiness.
Did he recognize
that? And then I wrote him, I want to make sure I got this right. I wrote him and said, why don't you? And that was the only time he didn't respond. We were going back and forth every minute with texts, literally. And then I said, that sounds amazing. Why wouldn't you leave all self-inflicted misery behind to find peace and happiness? No response.
That's incredible.
Still hasn't responded.
And
I think it's because it created a big...
No, it created a moment. It created a high resistance moment. Man,
isn't that fascinating?
We're going to beat this dead horse. People do not want to feel good. They don't want to be happy. They want what they imagine is the intermediate step to it. Because, oftentimes, and this is the crazy thing, in order to be happy, you have to oftentimes give up the thing that you thought for many years was going to do it for you.
Sure.
That's so true.
Isn't that fascinating?
So relatable.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't want to go to this thing because I'm afraid it'll make me want to give up on my self-inflicted misery.
Yeah, I might actually have to be happy.
That sounds great. Why don't you do that?
Yeah.
Ghosted.
Terror.
Never responded.
Man, doing anything different is so scary to people.
I'm guilty of it.
Of course. I don't exempt myself from the category of people.
No.
I
just run towards the psychedelic experiences, hoping that it'll eventually shift.
That's kind of what I do. Is I've gotten.
I'll fly to Amsterdam to do it in the hope of rewriting my brain.
It's a weird, and this is my strategy with motivation. Is I actually don't believe in my own consistent willpower or discipline at all, and it's deteriorated in recent years. I used to have more, but what I can do is sign myself up for these shackled experiences.
Well, I can bank on my subconscious. Dude, I never miss the gym.
Yeah.
And it's because my subconscious really wants me to go. And maybe that was influenced by some books I read or some this or some that.
Oh, but I'm saying that the gym might be getting in the way of your happiness.
Sure. But what I'm saying is that it's when you are forcing yourself and pushing yourself to do something every day, you will burn out. when your unconscious mind thinks that that's what will make you happy, you will do it forever.
Well, this is exactly the problem.
So all I can do is fly to Amsterdam to go to a psilocybin retreat to hopefully uncover some things that I'm doing wrong and then rewrite my unconscious mind.
I think we're saying the same thing, which is, yeah, I recognize that my daily struggle against my subconscious is going to be one that I lose.
Mm-hmm.
And so rather than try to win on every day-to-day front, I just sign up for these things that I go, okay, this is going to be a subconscious kick in the rear, and maybe like I have autopilot, and maybe it'll just change the autopilot destination. And then after that I go, God, thank you.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be clear, it doesn't have to be psychedelics. I think you would have said Choice Center was one of those. I think Tony Robbins, for some people, those events can be very powerful.
It's these massive kick in the butts. And then I think what is important that a lot of these don't have, which is what I want to make when we do this, is
you want follow up.
It's the kick in the butt, but it's like Pavlovian conditioning.
Yeah, you don't want to send someone to a retreat, whether it's psychedelic or high intensity NLP or whatever, and then they come out, they're motivated, they're ready to change this and that, and you go, awesome. Go back to your same environment that had all the same people and the same setup that was leading to the bad results, and good luck.
Yeah. You're different now.
Wait, but all the people are the same, and they all want me to be the same, and this is really hard.
So that's what I want is something that, because I think what it is, you get that catalyst of an experience, but then you need to come back into a supportive environment. Yeah. And if you don't have the supportive environment,
I say
then
this
catalyst
with new people.
Fizzles.
With new people.
Yeah.
You cannot, or with the same people who are going to treat you differently because they've agreed to for some reason. You can't. Yeah. I talked to a guy that runs an Ibogaine clinic, incredibly useful for drug addicts. Mm-hmm. You can go to an Ibogaine clinic and kick all the physical symptoms.
Because you can come back to your family. Yeah.
All the physical symptoms of your drug addiction are gone. But if you go back to the same group of friends and the same family that led you to doing heroin, what you haven't fixed is their abusiveness or your lack of connection or your feeling of loneliness. And then with no physical addiction, you will turn back to the substance because you didn't try it the first time because you were addicted to it. Mm-hmm. It was healing or filling some hole. Mm-hmm. And he's like, if you give people Ibogaine and then just send them right back, it's a crapshoot because they won't be addicted. But if you give them Ibogaine and give them a support network, then they won't be drug addicts.
Interesting.
And I thought that was really, really interesting.
Yeah, got to keep that in mind when we do this for our stuff. Because I think I've done it.
I'm going to the weekend seminar. Thought my whole life was changed. And then nothing changes.
That's just a habit that I have now, is to bite my tongue whenever somebody asks me, "You have a powerful experience?" They go, "How was it?" And I will not say. Really will not say life changing until at least, and this is still early, 2-3 months after. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like 90 days have to pass. Yeah. Until you can utter the words life changing.
Oh my god! I learned so. My brain is so different. I learned so much. Yeah. And then 2 weeks later, you're like, that felt really powerful. What did I learn?
Yeah. It doesn't seem to make sense.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
I forget.
Yeah. So I have a couple of other things on here. Let's see. We talked about the red herring one. This is semi-related to Dan Ariely. So I've been reading a book on, I always have like a business book, an Eastern book, and then a science book or something like that. And
you read them, you just bounce between them? I don't really understand this. I buy one book at a time and I read just that book.
I bounce between.
So how does that work? Just depending on the day?
Matches my mood. And what's interesting is
Do you read before bed? Do you read when you wake up? When do you read?
Often, all day.
All the time?
Yeah.
So it'll be 4 p.m., you finish writing a script, you go, okay, cool, I'm going to take a break, I'm going to read.
Yeah.
And then there's no system. You just go, do I want to read about Eastern? Do I want to read about business?
No system. But there is a subconscious system, and it's when I want to not do the heavy lifting of presence, which is taking a deep breath, and this is where I am. I love this, and I love problems. I love them. They distract me from the present moment.
Got it. So weirdly enough, the business books are what call to you.
Yes, they call to me because I can focus on a discrete problem and pretend that solving it will do something.
I love it. As your business partner, I love it. As your best friend, I have no comment. All right.
And that's what. Yeah, you get that breakthrough, and of course, it doesn't matter at all to anything in the larger schema sense of being, reality, all that stuff. But it's really fun to pretend that some board game is important for a minute. Sure. And that's why I like these business books. But this one was on, it mentioned it, and I was happy to find that it wasn't praising the gods of productivity. And it just made me want to get on here because people ask questions about being more productive. I think that's one of the worst questions.
Well, define productive.
How do I get more stuff done?
Yeah. So I think productive should be defined as how do I produce more?
Why? Produce more what?
Well, if you're trying to
Pounds
work
of
on
poop?
business, no, if you're trying to work on business, the question would be like, how do I be more productive in business? Is how do I make myself, I would think, more money in less time.
Well, it could be, but what if it made you miserable? I mean, you could be an
Well,
assassin.
I'm saying you have to be focusing on the business for that question to make sense.
What if your business is being an assassin? I guess this is my point is the question isn't how do I get more with less. It's what do I want more of and what do I want less of.
Yeah. I agree.
And I think, well, unfortunately, people don't ask themselves that question. And so what they'll get is more time to study, more time to write that paper that they have. And instead, it's like, how could I have worked on a business?
Well,
perhaps?
I'll defend productivity a little bit. Some people feel like they have to have a job or go to school, right? And it's not their passion. And so productivity is, I have to get a certain amount of homework done, or I have to produce a certain amount of work that I don't like so I don't get fired because I need a salary. How do I do this work in as little time as possible to free up more of my time to spend on my passions, my side business, things like that? You know what I mean? Let's say you want to start a business, but you have a family, or you want to start a business, but you have student loans. So you have to work your job. So productivity can get you that salary in 3 hours, let's say, because you work remote and you outsource, then you 80-20. And now you have 5 hours a day to work on your side project.
Sure.
So if you're not productive and it takes you 8 hours, now you have to work an 8-hour job and then start a side business when you go home.
Yeah.
So I think that's the virtue of productivity, is if you have something that you feel like you cannot escape needing to do.
Sure. I think the bigger thing is, the fundamental question is, do you have to do that thing? And
Sure.
what you would find with many of our friends is they'll tell you that they have to do
Well,
X,
this is why
Y,
I
and
like
Z.
to. This is why I like to. Not everyone's like our friends.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Some people are older and have families. Some people just have harder situations, and some people are still in high school. So I think depending on who you are, there's real value in productivity. If you have to do this amount of crap, and it lets you do it in this much time,
It
'Cause
should
now
be-
you've freed up guitar time.
It should be a second order question is what I'm saying, though. The first order question, I think, comes back to essentialism, is what are the important things?
Sure.
Right? Like that's the number one question. And then within that, if you want to be productive, go for it.
For sure.
Absolutely go for it. I'm not anti.
Well, I think essentialism is a productivity book.
Okay, then I guess we're arguing over semantics. If you think that, what essentialism is to me is when I think of productivity, I think of people with to-do lists and organizers and systems.
Essentialism says you have these 5 things to do, and they each produce a certain result, right? If this is going to make you 10 times all of these, don't do any of these. Just do the one that creates 10 times the result.
Yeah, and then
that is productivity.
Yes.
That is creating the most with the least effort.
Sure. Presuming that we like whatever this produces.
Yes.
Fine. And if that's how people read productivity, that's not what I see sometimes in how to be more productive things. It's assuming
productivity can be bastardized into meaning how can I get more of any, like, doesn't matter what I'm getting done.
Whatever it
doesn't matter
is.
what I'm getting
Yeah.
done. As long as I'm getting more of it done, I'm being productive.
Sure.
I would actually argue if your goal is to build a wall and you're over here picking your nose really, really well for 10 hours, that's not productive just because you got the most nose picking done. You know, it has to be towards your goal to be productive.
And so what I would actually, and I don't know if you're gonna like this in our business, I think that what we should do is, I think we spend too much time working. I think
I'm on board so far.
we need to collapse it. Parkinson's law, whatever you have to do will expand the amount of time you have to do it. That's a productivity thing, but also I think it's going to force us to be more ruthless in our decision making. And I think
You're saying be like you are only allowed to work 4 hours a day?
stop. Yeah, you have to stop.
Like you have to time it. You don't have to do it all at once.
Yeah.
But you have a stopwatch, and when you're working, it's like, okay, here's my work. Pop.
Yep.
And then I'm gonna stop to eat lunch. Stop.
And
it's 4 hour cap. Then you have to stop.
Even as just an experiment for a week, and to let things go wrong.
I'm game. Do you know what's accidentally created that? My incredible Borderlands 3 addiction. I've never been more productive. I told you this. I've never been more productive. Normally, I will just work for 10 hours lazily, I don't care if I'm working at 10 p.m. Now, I'm trying to finish everything as soon as possible.
Well, that's the thing. I don't want you to finish everything. I want you to.
No, I get it.
I want you
You
to
want
work
me to
on your
make cuts.
prioritization,
Yeah.
and I want you to cut. And I want to help our team do that as well. Honestly, I think that as business owners, it can be easy to be like, okay, I'm going to work on my essentialism, and then let other people do things at their own rate and however they want to.
Sure.
But I think we would be better served. I think they would be better served, and I think they'll hate it and they'll fight us tooth and nail because essentialism isn't fun when you feel like, gosh, it feels so good to get the stuff done. It feels so good.
There's a brief moment of like, you check the box.
I did it.
You get to pat yourself on the back.
The hardest thing
success.
about when we got to Brazil the first time and had nothing to do was like, how do I feel good about myself in my day?
Have we told this story? I'll make it brief. But I had a panic basically when we moved to Brazil because I had been an employee for 4 years. So I was always used to being told what to do, doing it, then being told I'd done a good job. Do this, do it, good job. We got to Brazil. Here's what you have to do to grow a business, Ben. Here's a list of 1,000 things. You could do them all. You have no idea what's going to work. And once you finish it, you just move on to the next one and no one tells you you've done a good job. And I had a meltdown. I felt so overwhelmed. I forget what you said to bring me out of it, but I remember just being like, my life is so much more stressful as an entrepreneur than it was in private equity.
Yeah.
And I think you just pulled me aside and were like, bro, just
Well, the
chill.
weird thing is private equity had a ton to do, but there was an amount that you could go, that was enough, sort of. And now granted, that might be on any given week getting 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
But with entrepreneurship, it's like,
and someone still told you what to do.
yes.
Someone still said you have to do these 19 things today. You went, well, that's going to take 19 hours. I don't give Okay.
Okay.
But at least
when
I
you
know
get to 19, you're like,
and
I can rest.
You can be a little bit of a machine. You can go full like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 18, 19.
Yeah.
And you get to be like, okay, I'm done and I did what I was told and I know today was a good day.
Yeah.
And as an entrepreneur, I'd write a blog post that no one would read or I'd start half of a sales page and I go, was today a good day?
Am I a good person?
Did I waste today?
Yeah.
Did I move us forward, backwards? Like it was very confusing.
Yeah.
And I found it very stressful.
I think that's one of the hardest things about this stuff, and I suspect why our employees might fight us if we try to take away their habitual ways of feeling like they did a good job.
Yeah, like they feel.
But
yeah.
I think it'll be good for them, and I think it'll be good for us. So
I'm game. What do
We'll
we
work
want to
on
do? 2 hours a day?
I don't know, but I think I want to choke it back in a heavy way that I don't think I can do. Let some things go wrong, but
Well,
have
2 hours would actually definitely freak me out. Actually, that's a joke. I think I could do
freak yourself out.
4.
I want you to have a nerve-wracking experience. I don't want you to think you can do it. I want you to have to do something that you can't, and just for 1 week. And then we go, listen, that was a horrible experience.
You're like, Ben, what'd you do this week? I'm like, I didn't do shit, man.
Work 8 hours a day the next week.
This
whatever.
went terribly.
Yeah, it was terrible. That's okay.
I'm game to experiment.
Yeah, let little things go wrong in order for big wins.
You want to pick it now or you want to talk about it later?
We'll talk about it later. We don't have to do all the business stuff. But so I got a couple of fun ones. So this is a charisma thing.
Okay.
Edward Snowden. Have you seen him? He's back.
No.
He is coming. He released his book. Yeah, I forget what it's called.
Who published his book?
It's a bestseller.
Ballsy.
So I don't even know that it is, man. At least within the YouTube comments and everyone that I've spoken to. Granted, I don't live in an area that is rural or like really.
No, humans like him. People like him. But I just assume the government's now like, screw those guys.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like, don't you just put a target on your back with the government if you publish the Edward Snowden book?
Maybe. I don't know. In any event, someone published it because I think there's money to be made and somebody will take that.
Yeah. They'll take the risk.
Yeah. These are just words. And he was going on a press tour. He was on Trevor Noah. And I'm struck by two things when I listen.
Wait, how's he going on a press tour? Through Skype?
Yeah. He's in Russia, dude.
Yeah. That's what I thought. I was like, what do you mean he's
he's on Good Morning and this and that. He's on Trevor Noah. And every time I listen to him speak, I don't know all the details of his thing, whether it was good or bad, and I always try to avoid weighing in on those things. Yeah. But what I can say with certainty is he appears very intelligent.
Sure.
He comes across as a sharp guy, and he's a solid communicator if you're willing to give him 15 minutes. But I was like, Edward, I want to talk to you because you're burying the lead here. Yeah. So he's telling this story and they're asking him questions and he gives the really fair, nuanced, not like the government is evil, I'm a good guy answers. Like, listen, these are competing interests, yada, yada, yada. But at one point, he tells the brief story and I'm going, this is the story, man. Yeah. He's at the NSA and he's asking, why did you do this? And he gives these abstract answers and then he finally gets to it. He says, so I was at the NSA one day, and one of my colleagues turned and showed me a naked photo of a woman that was the wife of one of the people that we were, I forget what it's, the targets that we had. And he looked at me and he said, bonus. And and then in another photo there was a photo of the kid, and the kid was looking at the camera, and it was like that kid was looking right at me as we did this. And I wanted, Edward, you have 15 minutes. Only talk about these photos. Yeah. And then go, what if your wife? What if what you said? What if the sounds of you guys having sex on your Alexa were being watched by some creeps at the NSA? saying bonus to the most private, and then he missed it though. He talked about like they're stealing memories, and it completely lost me. I was like, no one can steal my memory.
Yeah.
Like if I have a memory and you have it too, I don't feel
Yeah,
like
I saw the nude. You
Yeah.
saw the nude. I saw the nude.
Yeah.
Now we both have the nude.
No, but like that idea of, oh man, drive it home and be like, this could be you.
Yeah.
This could be like, and like you never took a naked photo. Do you have kids? You think they might have done something on their cell phone that you wouldn't want to have come back when they apply to college? You want there's this marketing angle, and I don't know if he can't do it because he can't make claims that he can't back up, which is who knows if they're still, or if he just doesn't have that savvy. But I was like, man, there is a way more powerful story to be told here than the government is spying on everyone. Like they're spying on you. Yeah. That's the story, and it's a bummer. It's a bummer.
Well, yeah, I think importantly on you and your loved ones, you and your kids.
And even if you have nothing to hide, your kids, because he was talking. They came at him on like Good Morning America. Like I was shocked at the tone that they took with him, because everyone that I know, I think, holds him in fairly high regard as someone who. Maybe I don't know the whole story. It seems to me that he sacrificed his life in order to do what he thought was right.
He certainly, at great personal expense, did what he did.
Exactly.
Things are not going well.
So that, anyways, I was like, man, I want to.
How'd they go at him?
They were like, Edward, you didn't have to leak. Like you did this, and he says no one was harmed, no one was this. But why don't you come back to America? Huh? If you want to come home so bad, why don't you come back? And well, the thing is, and he gives this long answer.
Because I'll go to jail. What do you mean?
But like, why not tell her? Be like, do you know what if I were, and again, I don't know if this is the right tact, but do you know
what sacrifices I made for this?
There's a much more personally persuasive tact.
Sure.
Now, maybe he's playing the legal game, which is, and he's going, look, I'm going to need to cut a deal in 3 years, and I cannot piss them off any further. But if he were trying to be persuasive on that interview, he did not do a good job.
Yeah.
And do you know what I did so that no one is looking at photos of your naked daughter that she took for her boyfriend?
But just to be clear, is that not happening? I thought nothing changed.
Here's the thing: if he would sell the story a bit more, maybe it would.
Sure, but I thought it was ultimately a lot of self-sacrifice for not a lot of effectiveness.
Well, this is the issue we talk about with charity, which is if you talk the fact that 90 million people don't have clean water, no one cares. But if you tell the story of one little girl with a name and a picture, donations go through the roof.
Sure.
And he's not telling the personal story, which I don't know why he's not doing it, and he might have good reason.
Call us.
If you don't, I don't know how.
Call into the podcast, dude.
So this is the next topic, weddings. So there was someone there's someone in our neighborhood who was getting married, and their parents are spending a lot of money on this wedding. And it's got the day before, it's got the day after, and I thought this was hilarious. The day after, it's at this fancy place, and it's brunch and bocce ball. Do you know what bocce ball is?
Yeah.
Where you throw the little ball and you throw the big balls?
Yeah.
I think this is hilarious because I know these people, and I like them, again, but they've never played bocce ball. They have a yard.
Yeah.
They've never played bocce ball, and they're going to spend, no joke, a strong 5 figures to play bocce ball that day.
Really? That day?
To get the venue and to have the plates and to do this.
Yeah.
Which is...
you're saying, why don't you just have the Friday-Saturday event and just skip brunch?
What I'm saying is that it is incredible how much money people will spend to do things they don't want to do if they're told it's luxurious. Yeah. It's incredible. I mean, I would defy the wedding industrial complex. I would say, I think they could make anything. Like, you could make it ping pong. Yeah. You could make it, you could make it bocce ball. It just sounds like, oh, that's fancy. Something that I don't always do. That must be really what they do in the Hamptons. It's such an aspirational thing to be in your beautiful clothes out on the lawn. Like, this is what the well-to-do spend their time doing.
Yeah, and we can pretend to do it for a day.
We could pretend to like it. It's like, if anybody wants to play bocce ball, you all have lawns.
Yeah.
You all have lawns.
By the way, it's probably like $30 max to get a bocce ball set.
And if you wanted to eat this brunch, the cost of this food is nothing.
Yeah.
But to do it
eggs.
Yes. And to do it at this event, at this thing, and to get the photographer there, though, which is really what it's for.
Yes.
So I was
absolutely
I thought it was hilarious because my parents are going to this thing, and they got to have an outfit for this. And
the wedding?
Have to have an outfit for this.
The wedding, I got to tip my hat to them from a business perspective. They have truly turned something from a special day for people to sanctify their marriage to a huge consumerist monstrosity
Yeah.
that has to be black tie
And,
and
like-
has to have a hugely expensive cake and has to be catered. And it's like, this could literally just be us standing up, saying our vows, if you're religious, having God sanctify the marriage, and then a DJ and an open bar.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be just as fun.
Yeah.
And instead, it's
less fun.
they've made it
We're
such a
playing
disaster.
bocce
Yeah.
ball. We have to play bocce ball.
Dude,
now.
that's marketing. That's the strength of marketing.
And again, tip of the hat. They did this in roughly
By the way, you have
in
to
less
buy
than
a-
100 years.
You have to buy a blood diamond,
Yeah.
or else you don't really love the
Yeah.
person.
They did this in less than 100 years. I actually think it might, if you could probably even shorten that time span, if you really look at when it kicked into
Yeah,
gear.
it's insane.
It's-
Might have even been one ad. Wasn't there one ad that launched the pearl industry or something?
I'm not sure.
Sometimes there's just these one moments where you just rewrite what a wedding is.
Yeah.
You just go, oh, you thought this was for friends and family? No, this is for photos.
So I know that people get excited for weddings, and this isn't even a comment on the marriage that has to follow the wedding, which can be difficult in its own ways. But oftentimes when I hear people discuss weddings, it's like, oh, I've got to go get a dress, or oh, I've got to like do this, or like I've got to
Yeah.
travel to this place, and it's
Well, that's the attendees.
the attendees.
The attendees, that's always the case.
Yeah.
You see memes of that.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I'm so excited. I got invited to this wedding. I can't wait to spend $5,000
Yeah,
to go.
yeah.
But I think for the person who is throwing it, it's also stressful, but there is a huge desire
Yes.
to have the event and
Yeah.
the photos and the validation and the,
Yeah.
bocce ball.
I think it would be really funny and to just interview them for the preceding year every time they're planning the wedding, be like, how does this make you feel? How does this make you feel? And then interview them on the wedding day and be like, how are you today? Like, were all those 4 experiences worth this 9 experience today?
By the way, this would have been a 9 if you just let me plan it a week ahead of time.
Yeah.
Like,
if I surprised you, surprise wedding.
you just don't need all this stuff.
What if the engagement and the wedding followed like that? Like if you
Well,
said
that would
yes,
be bad. I
if you
think you'd
said
be-
yes to the engagement, everyone had to be there.
No,
and
no,
you could
no.
just come in.
You got to give people the chance to opt out. I know too many people that said yes and then took it back.
They're like,
Yeah. I know someone that said yes, didn't want to get married, but said yes because she felt pressured because their family was there, because he surprised her
Ooh.
with the family there.
That's
Her
tough.
mom and dad are there. His mom and dad. She goes, yeah. And then was too scared to cancel and was going to marry him until she found out that while getting ready to marry her, he was having sex with his ex once a week. And that let her get out of the wedding. But absent that, she was just going to marry the guy she didn't want to marry.
That's
rather
crazy.
than rock the boat and upset him and disappoint her parents.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, I guess you're lucky he's a scumbag.
we truly are the own obstacles to our own happiness. It's incredible.
Yeah,
It's easy to see it in other people. Psh, not me though.
Well, that one's great. That one is so interesting. I don't want to marry him, but I think I'm going to. You're
Yeah.
just like, I'm just going to get a yak back.
Yeah.
I'm going to have you say that again.
yeah.
And I'm going to play it back to you. And you pretend I said it to you.
And what do you think happens after the wedding?
Yeah. It just gets worse.
Like when your family's not looking.
Huh.
So tons of stuff here. I got to keep rolling though, because I got more. So I mentioned this to you. Here's my underlying question. What is a man? And if it matters, in parentheses, in 2019.
What is a man in 2019? I
What?
don't want to answer this.
I don't know. No, I don't mean trans. I don't mean trans or anything like that. I mean, there's been the book that I'm reading is about, it's called King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, right? And it's about the archetypes of...
Got it.
of-
You're saying what is masculine?
What is... Sure,
Let's say
masculine.
that. Let's say
What is
that.
masculine?
Not what is a man. What is masculine
Yeah.
in 2019?
Yes, and in 2019 might be a needless qualifier. But the thing I told you a little bit about this, the fascinating thing about this book is it talks about the importance of rituals in moving boys to men and how boys to men. It talks about how in some tribes or in Native Americans, they would have this 13th birthday thing that was intense.
Yeah.
Like you'd be ripped out of your home, covered in fire ants, given some sort of psychedelic brew, left out in the wilderness for 3 days, and then have your foreskin removed, and you would be a man.
Yeah.
At the end of that horrible journey.
Yeah. That sounds exactly like my bar mitzvah. That's exactly what my mom and dad
No,
did.
what I remember about bar mitzvahs is when the guy would hold the stick out, and he'd let go, and people would try to catch it, right? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
You never did
So
that
I was
game?
having flashbacks to fire ants and having my foreskin cut off. You'd put me in a dark place.
All right. Well, what I remember about bar mitzvahs is the guy, you hold a baton.
Yeah.
And then somebody holds their hand right above it. And he says, look, when I'm going to drop it, I'm going to drop it. And you always miss it. Reaction time doesn't work. But whoever the bar mitzvah boy was, he'd go, I'm going to drop it. I'm going to drop it. And somehow he would signal to him. And the bar mitzvah boy would always get it.
Yeah. Interesting. We actually didn't have that at mine.
So you didn't become a man.
No.
You didn't.
I just got drowned in fire ants.
You didn't do the baton trial.
Yeah.
But so it says that these things are important, and then it goes on.
That
which
we've
I
lost
thought,
them. We don't
that we've
have
lost
this
them.
ritual. It's just this random, you're a man now.
Or you're not, or you are, or what is it? So
I
I
don't know. You don't know because you haven't done it. That's
So
the thesis of the book.
That was one of the theses about
Okay.
rituals. And then it said, which I thought was completely crazy. He says, the only thing we have resembling this is gang violence, or are gangs, which is a perversion of this. Because gangs are violent and require you to often hurt other people. And then I looked back at the preceding paragraph where it describes the fire ants and the circumcision
Sure.
and all this. I was like, you don't think that's violent?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what is this
No,
whitewashing?
or you go Sparta, right? Didn't they have to go out in the wild and kill a bunch of animals?
My
or
point
something?
is, gangs might be the only vestige
Sure.
of what you're describing. And I'm not saying that we want that. In fact, when I look at it, I go, I don't know that this is the best
yeah,
way.
maybe we just shouldn't romanticize
Maybe
it.
we shouldn't romanticize all
Yeah.
of these rituals. I don't know. But it did make me think, what is masculine? And I don't know. Do you have thoughts or an answer? Does it matter? I don't know.
Well, no, at the end of the day, this was always where I came back with that whole Adam Conover thing. 'Cause
Yeah.
he tries to say there's no such thing as alpha males and beta males. Which is like, I agree with Joe Rogan. Unless we're just going to completely corrupt the definition of these, there are. If you just define alphas as confident men that most women are attracted to, or you just say an alpha is whoever gets the most mates, or whatever you define, like you just pick a definition, there are. But the question is, why do you want to be an alpha so bad? You know? I know I do because my dad is a hockey player and that's what I was told a man is. But like, that's not to say it's good. That's just to say that's my programming. But no, what do I think is masculine? I mean, a ton of things come to mind. I'll just list them off without trying to be right. Being big and strong, right? Being able to beat people up in a fight, protect your loved ones if you have to, defend the family. Being successful, being confident, being decisive, being chivalrous in the sense that you're paying for whoever you're dating, you know, you're providing financially. What else is masculine? Standing up for people, standing up for yourself. If someone's being bullied, you're the person that gets in the way and goes, hey, not on my watch.
Not on my watch.
That's masculine.
Do you think these things that you're listing, and I know that you're listing them as sort of gut reactions, does your top brain confirm that? Do those rationally clear for you? Because I know that was like,
I don't know. This is just,
that's what your
there's
sense
two things
is.
I could do. I could try to look good on the podcast,
yeah,
or
or
I could
give
try
your
to answer your
sense.
questions.
Well,
So
that's what I'm
just going.
So I agree. I think
Here's what comes up if you ask me.
we have similar
to
senses
Rorschach
culturally
masculine.
of what masculinity
Yeah.
is. And I guess my question is, how does your rationality, does it confirm?
What's the definition of masculine?
I don't know.
Angel,
but
what's the definition of masculine? Can you
I
Google
think
it?
it's being normally associated with men, but I think kind of the definition is this is what we steer men towards, and like you're almost judged on how well you hit those things, and you'll know where you are in your life, and you're told to feel as good about yourself as you are on that scale. I think
that fits my life goals.
which is why people work hard to be those things.
You saying that's why I volunteered to do a cage fight where I let someone punch me in the face
Yeah.
for glory? Is that what you're saying?
Because
that doesn't actually make sense to do?
I really just like being punched in the face.
I love it. I love it.
What does it
What
say,
do we got,
Angel?
Angel?
Are you ready for an incredibly unsatisfying answer?
Yeah.
Qualities or attributes regarded as characteristic of men.
Sure. And I think, and even circular in that circular answer
what?
is that these are desirable things, right?
They have to be. I think we, at least in our culture,
Desirable
definitely say-
for men to
Smelly
have.
is not on there.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, that's not part of the definition of masculine, despite the fact that a lot of men are.
Interesting.
No, it's got to be the good ones.
That's really interesting that we don't go, oh wow, that's so masculine. He smells like the strongest BO
Yeah.
that I've ever smelled in
Stinks.
my life.
What a man.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
That it's I've kind of talked about this.
Honestly, another high testosterone trait would be being quick to violence, which is not
Yeah.
something we consider masculine. So defending your loved ones is considered masculine, but being a lunatic, just having a really quick
being
trigger.
abusive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Well,
not
here's
considered
you know what might have been masculine in the past: hurting your loved ones, like hitting and just
well,
being
in the 50s or something.
Well, who are you
20s.
going to hurt if you're an angry, high T, pissed off person? You're going to hurt the people in your
Sure.
area.
Yeah.
And I'm not.
No,
I don't even mean within 100 years ago. I mean historically.
I think implicit in the word masculine today is that it's the good stuff. It's not just the stuff that correlates with being a man. It's the stuff that you're supposed to think makes a man a man.
And again, the good stuff, the good being a word that is hypercharged, because what it is
No, it's relative. It's made up. It's whatever. It's you decide
you
smelly
are
is not
told
good.
you can feel good if you embody these traits as a man/boy. And it's just interesting. I was reading this book. I was like, this is, I don't know. I'd like to talk to someone who feels differently. It feels like a strong mechanism of control. It feels like a way to get people to do things that they don't want to do, like get in a fight or pay for everyone around them, or sacrifice their life for their country. Things that
or just sacrifice their life for their family. I saw an interesting thing. All the memes where it's like a dog or like the dad's like, I don't want a dog, but then the dad's who loves the dog the most. I was just reading some stuff on Reddit. It's just anecdotal, right? But this dad they were saying, why do dads love their dogs so much? And he's like, I go to work and provide for my family, and that's my job, and I don't mind it. And no one is grateful about it. I do not come home from work with people saying, thanks for giving the last 8 hours of your day doing something you don't want to do so that you can give us food. You just come home and help them with their homework.
Yeah.
And I get it. And I don't mind that because this is my sacrifice. This is my role. But when I come home, the dog is stoked. And it's the only one that I feel like is giving me my thank you.
Yeah.
For completely sacrificing your day for the family. And again, it's just an anecdote. It's just one guy. Some families are very grateful. But I think it's just an interesting look into the lives of some men who are pursuing this masculine thing of I'm gonna give up myself. I'm gonna give of myself.
And why would I do that? Well, not because I'm getting thanks, because I'm not.
Yep.
Not because I'm getting this.
Not because I like it, not because it's fun.
And I think
because
this
I'm a
is
man.
important.
And this is the role of a man.
Not because it's a timeless ideal either. That's what we're kind of saying, is that obviously this definition of masculinity, while there might be a core that has remained similar, has shifted over the historical.
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, it used to be masculine, just murder and
it seems like masculinity is what is best for society to have most men behave like. That seems like what it is. And to me, that is just a control structure that like I don't necessarily want to opt into or sign up for or let control my decision making, lest I have to get punched in the face in order to prove it.
Just to be clear, I'll still pursue it till the day I die or do enough psychedelics. But I'm with you philosophically.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And I think.
Do you think you pursue masculinity? I definitely do. And I think it has to do with my dad. I'm curious if you do.
I have relaxed on it. I mean, I've stopped going to the gym. I'm trying to shrink the shoulds in my life.
Yeah.
And one of the shoulds.
Well, I was just curious if if you think you have a hyper masculine father and if you think you pursue masculinity. Because I would say I, by our definitions, have a hyper masculine father.
Yeah.
And I think when you grow up, a lot of times your father is your hero, absolute hero.
Yeah.
And so I probably through till today, I've spent the last 32 years, one of the things I pursue aggressively is being masculine and strong and being able to provide and protect. And I think for me, it probably comes from wanting to be like my father, loved by my father. I'm just curious if I don't know enough about you and your dad.
I think that's true as well. I mean, my dad is taller than me. He was more athletic than me. He was on the varsity basketball player, got a scholarship to university. Like he did at the age that I was growing up, he was cooler, more athletic, and better in every way than I was at the age.
Did it make you want to go, screw this, I'm going to do something else? Or did it make you want to go, I want to do this, I want to be like him?
Both. It was both. It was like a frustrated attempt to be like him, I think.
And then to excel in other areas because
it
wasn't working?
And then I quit for a while. And I was like, I hate piano. I hate this. I hate basket. And I quit everything that he did. I quit it all. And then I came back to it at around age 16 and was like, okay, I'm going to try guitar. Okay, I'm going to try to be good at basketball. Okay, I'm going to try to, have women, like girls for the first time because I just ignored them for my entire preteen years.
Do you think every guy has this in some... And by the way, I don't mean biologically. I just mean, do you think that men in America, because of the way we're raised on the whole, pursue masculinity because we want to be like our fathers and we want to be loved by our fathers?
I can't say every, because some people do not have
Angel shaking his head. Angel, weigh in.
So I usually don't speak up, but I had a pretty hyper masculine father too, but I didn't have a great relationship with him. So growing up, I actually very much rejected masculinity.
Yeah.
I sort of pursued the quote unquote feminine, and I always was like really into shopping and fashion and like things that I thought were feminine. I kind of did it on purpose to piss people off in my life.
Got it. Because you weren't close to your dad. That's fascinating. Because I think there can be a rejection of your parents as well.
Absolutely.
I think they either influence you on what to move towards, or they can swing you away. I don't think anyone's neutral on their parents, but I totally buy this. Like, I think there's a lot of people who probably go, I hate this person and I'm going to be the opposite.
I have to think more about it. It's really interesting because what I'm hearing is that we're saying there might be some biology in here, which is certainly worth considering because there's a lot of biology in everything. There's definitely some culture in here because we've watched this definition shift, but also whether or not it becomes an ideal of yours has to do with your particular circumstances, especially how they relate to your same-sex parent. And I'm sure the analog is true for femininity in many ways for people as well. I don't have personal experience, trying to do that. But yeah, the person that
isn't that interesting? I wonder why that is.
What?
Like you can love your mom, but it doesn't make you want to be more feminine necessarily.
Well, I think what it does is it defines the type of love that you look for in women
Yeah, sure, but
don't look for or run from,
yes,
right?
Yes. But it doesn't make you want. You can love both parents just as much, but you don't want to move towards feminine necessarily.
Well, whether this is cultural, biological, or whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
Angel, were you close to your mom?
Yeah, very. I was raised by a single mom mostly. So yeah.
Interesting. That's fascinating.
Did you emulate her in her? Obviously, you took after her in many ways because she was your mother. But do you feel like in the same way that we're describing that, like Ben tried to become like his dad and
actually
like mine?
No, because she was a single mother, I was sort of expected to step up and be the man of the house.
Interesting.
But I didn't want to, so I was like, no, that's not happening.
So complicated. This is part of why I don't want to have a kid. It's so complicated. It's so much. There's nature. There's nurture. There's so much stuff. You can try your best, and it's just so hard.
Yeah.
What makes a person who they are as an adult is so complicated.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, this is worth
sharing,
more
Angel.
thought.
Appreciate you chiming in.
Appreciate you chiming in. It's a good. Ben and I have the
Thanks
same.
for hearing me out.
So,
No, that's why I saw him shaking his head. I wanted to hear it.
Yeah, Ben and I are too similar sometimes. But I do think that it is important, at least at this point in my life, and for many people, to pause, step back, and not just with masculinity, but towards all of the goals that they're asking, and ask, how did this idea get put into my head, and is it one that is improving my life to continue to strive? And you can ultimately continue down the same path. But as I've unpackaged and reflected, my idea of masculinity was a lot of the things that you described, but plus one you didn't, which is making women happy. Like the most masculine man in my eyes is the one that all the women love and all the women want to be around and everybody likes him.
But not just all the women want to sleep with. For you, it was all the women want to sleep with and want to date and want to stay with.
Yes.
And want to and like.
Yeah. It wasn't like a player.
Yeah. Because someone could define masculine as just the guy that sleeps with the most women and then he treats them poorly, but they still like him. And that could be that. Oh yeah, that's that. For you, it was like I care for them. They adore me.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah. Which is my mom, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so here's another big one, and then we can hop into the news. So I'm reading, I told you, I have all my books. I have my Dan Ariely's, I have my Eastern books, I have my et ceteras. And I see in Dan Ariely, he sets up a dichotomy of meaning versus happiness. And this is one that you're familiar with in almost every book written in the Western thing, which is happiness isn't going to do it. Meaning is important. This is Jordan Peterson's thing, which, by the way, did you hear? This is total tangent. That he checked into rehab.
No, for what?
So it's less sensational than it sounds. His wife was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and he was, of course, distraught and went on anti-anxiety meds. And then as she actually got better, which is, great and wonderful. Wow. And then he goes, okay, I'm going to get off these meds. And it's like a horrible withdrawal. So he checked himself into, I think, a New York facility to try to get off of these anti-anxieties. Yeah. But I read that. I was like, what? And I was like, it's not as sensational as as
everything's got its cost, dude. We had a friend who his lung collapsed and they had to do a bunch of surgery for him, so they gave him painkillers, and then he ended up being addicted to painkillers. He said the withdrawal was worse than the pain of his lung collapse. Seriously. Man. He said it was awful. He said my fiance had to tie me down, and she had to give me these suppositories, I guess, because they help with the symptoms a little bit or something. Yeah. I don't remember the full details, but he's like, the withdrawal was far worse than having my lung collapse in on itself and not being able to breathe. Oh, cool.
Yeah, I don't want to ever get hooked on that stuff. But anyway, so meaning versus happiness comes up often in these Dan Ariely's, and Jordan Peterson talks about it. Viktor Frankl, happiness they often define as the pleasure. I like what's happening. Meaning being the sense that what you're doing is important, will outlive you, contributes to others. And in these books, meaning often comes out on top, which I'm not sure that it totally deserves to. I actually think we've depreciated a little bit of hedonistic pleasure, at least in the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you go, but I think that defining joy, pleasure, and happiness is interesting.
Is
these
important.
Conversations.
Yeah.
But anyway, go on.
But anyway, I think there's interestingly, there's a third one that is always left out of the Western books, which is presence. And that's what you get to when you read Buddhist texts. It's what you get in Eckhart Tolle, which is, it's closer to happiness than meaning. It is anti-meaning, right? Because meaning is all about, it's not about what I'm doing. It's what I'm doing has some sort of superseding value that goes beyond me.
The definition of meaning.
And I'm certainly not present in the moment. I'm conscious of the legacy which this creates. I'm conscious that this has effects outside of my immediate experience. And presence is grounded in your immediate experience. It says nothing means, it'll say this, means anything.
Sure.
It is. And so I find myself when I read these books, because I read a lot of different ones, torn back and forth in different directions. On one hand going, oh God, I need to do meaningful things. And on the other hand going, drop meaning completely.
Yeah. I battled with this I don't know if you remember this, like 2 years ago, because I was starting to learn about nihilism and I couldn't find a flaw in it, but I found it very depressing. And then I found optimistic nihilism, which is what I could finally wrap my head around, because it's tough. It's the idea that if you zoom out enough, none of it has meaning. Yeah. All of planet Earth will just get swallowed by the sun. So we just choose what to care about. It's not that nothing has meaning. It's that you just choose your own. Whatever meaning you give. There's no universal definition of what's meaningful, because the answer is none. The sun will explode and everything we've ever done will be gone forever. And I was a little bit shook by that, because I said, well, then what's the point? And I saw people kind of, nihilism is associated with the black and white cartoon that's depressed. Yeah. And then somewhere I found it reframed as like, it's not no meaning. It's just make your own meaning.
Existential.
Make meaning that inspires you to go do positive things by your definition, help other people and blah, blah, blah. Not because it has meaning, but because like you get to make your own meaning. It can mean whatever you want. So yeah, I wrestled with this. It can feel a bit daunting to give up meaning, because it can make you feel lost. Because if there's no meaning, what's the point?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm trust me, I'm on board with no objective meaning. I'm on board totally. But my question is, should I even try to make my own meaning of?
I'm not saying should or shouldn't. I'm saying some people listening, me myself, when you hear that at first, there can be a sense of, if there's no meaning, then what's the point? If there's no meaning, then why get out of bed? If there's no meaning, why live at all?
So there's two answers to that question, roughly Eastern, Western. The Western is make your own. Nothing. There are no rules. You get to decide what, do you want to help other people? Do you want to be horrible? And that you elevate your own meaning and you strive towards it. That's sort of the existentialist philosophy. But on the other hand, there's this Buddhist, which is like, yeah, there's no meaning. Like, take a deep breath, feel your legs on the couch.
Yeah. Well, this is why I wrestle with why it's illegal to kill yourself. And I don't want to minimize suicide, but at the most extreme example, I'll tell you about my grandmother's husband had horrible back pain, was 93, and didn't want to live with it anymore. And so he was in a home and he just stopped taking his meds and starved himself to death. And it took a really long time because he had to starve himself to death. And I don't understand why he wasn't allowed to just opt out. And I know we've got to make rules, and you have to make.
No, that's a silly rule. You should be able.
Well, but I'm saying you've got to be a certain age, and you have to agree to it for several months in a row. But I do wonder about this idea that people are forced to continue living if they don't want to. And it's obviously very complicated because suicide has impacts to the people around you, and it can be very traumatic for other people. But yeah, this whole thing of like, there's no meaning, it's all about the present. Well, if the present is horrible physical agony, like, why are you obligated to continue being present in it?
Well, what the Eastern response would be that the present is never as bad as if it is not connected to this, this means I'm going to be in pain forever. That the moment of the coldness, the moment of the rain can be transcended by getting deeper into that.
I guess this is why these are the monks that go up into the mountains and sit in the cold for forever. For now, that's all. They only sit there for right now. That's sort of the answer. And so I don't know, but I find myself when I read one book going, okay, let's build a business that is important and meaningful. And then I read the other one, I go, let's feel your butt on the ground. Like, stay still for a long time. Do you think you can achieve? So I'm positive you can achieve great monetary success and great impact and great contribution part-time. Do you think you can achieve presence part-time?
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't know.
Like, because here's the thing.
I don't know.
Do you think that needs a Vipassana retreat? Do you think that needs monks in the mountain? Can you
Eckhart Tolle, allegedly, and when I look at him, I believe it, sat on a bench one day and didn't stand up for a couple hours. And there's these stories. Sadhguru went up to a tree and sat there for 8 hours. He's just a dude who had been dumped. There are these people that
they just have breakthrough moments.
And this is throughout history, where they're all charlatans, maybe some of them. I think some of them are just legit.
Yeah.
That are just forever changed for no conceivable reason. They're not even meditators. Something just snaps.
Do they just have psychotic breaks?
I think they kind of do.
Because Eckhart Tolle was going to kill himself, right? Isn't that a story?
He was, but he's not even as suicidally depressed as many people. Like he was.
No, but he was thinking about suicide.
Yeah.
And then he had this thing. And then Sadhguru just said had a breakup and then had this thing.
Yeah.
Are they having?
I had a breakup. I was sad, man. Are
they having episodes?
I don't know. And then Sadhguru comes back to his family and they have dinner, and he just said that he sat at the dinner table for hours after everyone left. And just was like in a state of pure bliss.
Well, that's the other thing. Is presence can be blissful and disconnecting. Interestingly enough.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. He would say, well, disconnected from what you think, but like completely connected to this. So
he's like connected to universal consciousness, but he's lost the ability to like ask his kids how school was.
Yeah, and obviously he does interviews and all these kinds of things, and I can't. I think I'm interested in understanding more of that sort of stuff. I don't know though. We'll see. I don't have an answer. But meaning versus presence, they do appear opposed to one another.
So question. There are all these things, right? There's NLP retreat / Choice Center / Tony Robbins. Mm-hmm. There's ayahuasca, psilocybin, bufo. There's Vipassana.
Yeah.
You've done multiple retreats.
Yeah.
You've done multiple plant medicine retreats. When is your Vipassana retreat?
Not for a while. No, I think I'll do it before I think I die, probably, unless I die.
Is it because it's the scariest?
I think it's the hardest. Well, the time sitting there for 10 days, man, that sounds... I'm not good with physical pain is the other thing. Like, weirdly enough, when I do ayahuasca, it can be psychically challenging, but I can handle the nausea. People talk about this physical agony. I'm like, I tap out so quick.
Yeah,
man.
it's interesting because you don't move, right? They just sit in the same spot.
It hurts
for hours.
It hurts. Yeah. I don't like physical pain at all. So I'll do it eventually, but I recognize that as being one of the doors into which you can start to have those enlightenment, epiphany.
I'm surprised you haven't gone through that door.
Yeah, I guess I'm taking the cheater door, which is like a psilocybin retreat. But anyway, that's all my things for today. What do we got? I know that there was a long question that I had mentioned, Angel. Can we dive into that one, and then we'll do... I only have 30 minutes, unfortunately, because I have to.
Do you want to skip current events this week?
Well, are there good ones? Let's do it.
We could... I'll list them, and if you're not interested, we'll...
Yeah.
Okay. YouTube's Lilly Singh is now the host of an NBC late-night talk show called A Little Late with Lilly Singh, which is pretty incredible that not only...
Wait, NBC?
Mm-hmm. And it's pretty incredible that not only does an Indian woman have a late-night talk show on a network, but also a YouTube star. She's like one of our own.
It's happening, man.
I feel like such a lame YouTuber.
You are. You're a fifth of her size.
We are beyond a fifth. No, because even if you look at views, she probably is crushing me. I'm not unhappy with it. We are so not in the YouTube world.
No.
We happen to put videos on YouTube, and I know a handful of YouTubers, but the ones that are
so much small. I mean, the magnitude differences.
There are YouTubers of our size that are close with Lilly Singh, that are close with PewDiePie, because they're in the same world.
Yeah.
We're not in their world is what's different. We're actually like a how-to company
it's educational.
that distributes on YouTube is what's interesting. So I don't even... Good for her, man.
No, I think it's interesting. I feel like YouTube won. I feel like TV and YouTube had a fight and YouTube won. And now TV's like,
no, man,
the only way
to... the system does. The system just incorporates anything
that
bucks against it.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that TV went, all right, next idea. Mm-hmm. Our YouTube channels need to be the biggest YouTube channels. Yeah. And so this thing she's hosting isn't on her channel. It's on NBC's YouTube channel.
If you can't beat them, make them join you.
And then it gets published to the NBC TV after.
Sure.
But YouTube first. I think what they did is they went, wait, PewDiePie gets more views than every TV show that we have? We need to be the biggest YouTube channel there is.
Yeah, and I don't mean this as nefarious, but essentially what's happening is they're going, look, we have prestige, authority, and some reach. You're fast eclipsing us. Rather than stay opposed to us, we're going to tempt you with, by the way, which is kind of a lateral move in many ways, except with prestige. You know what I mean? Like, are you going to be seen by more people? No. Are you going to make more money? I don't even know that that's the case.
I doubt it.
Do you feel like this is prestigious? Good, because now you're going to buoy me with your actual popularity.
Yeah, and we said it. We go, oh, good for her, good for her.
Yeah.
It's like, is this better than just making a second video on the channel she owns
Yeah.
and get all the revenue from it?
This is why like Macklemore's such an inspiring dude. It's because he just didn't, like, at no point did he.
And it paid off for him in a big way.
He just went, I own it.
Yeah.
It's me. I own it, and I am a competitor to all of these other universals.
That's interesting to think about, actually, because my first reaction was good for her and good for YouTube. And I'm not saying it's not, but it is interesting. It's most good for NBC.
Well, this is what power does is that it as its stock wanes, what it has still is prestige. And this is true of institutions as well. Like, take Harvard, University of Chicago. Those are made.
You ever hear the quote?
by their students.
If you ever want to have a smart person do something that's not in their best interest, bait the hook with prestige.
Yeah, who's that? Ben Graham or something?
I don't remember.
It
was just a quote that was thrown in my face when I was doing investment banking.
Yeah,
and it's true.
And the people who make these NBCs, who make Harvard, who make this, are the people desperately wanting to be accepted by them. Who, oddly enough, if they all just got together and said, "We're gonna just not go here. We're just going to start the next several billion-dollar companies.
Is what matters.
I will own everything." In order to get prestige, people prop up these institutions of power, which I don't think is nefarious. I just think it's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
But anyway, what else?
Instagram is cracking down on questionable weight loss ads. A lot of celebrities like the Kardashians will push weight loss diet teas and shakes and lollipops and anything that they could stamp their name on. But Instagram is taking a stand. They're blocking some of the lighter ones that aren't considered as bad. They're blocking from minors, so anybody under 18 will not see them. But any of the ones that are seen as more dangerous, like the ones with really wild claims like, take this every day for a month and you'll lose this amount of weight. Those are being completely banned altogether for everybody.
Interesting.
So that's sort of,
I think that's good.
A big deal, because that was a lot of money on Instagram, and now there's a huge market that's potentially.
Well, also Instagram doesn't get any of that money, do they?
It's between.
Well, they get the ad money. They do get the ad money.
Got it.
Oh, not if it's sponsorships. If it's sponsorships, they get no money. If it's ads, they do get money.
It's sponsorships. Now, what they could be doing is pushing people to other platforms, but at this point, let's be real.
No, you're going. It doesn't hurt them to do this. They can do the right thing without taking a hit.
Is it the right? I don't know anything about it. Yeah,
I think so. I think my mom once went to a nutritionist for something, and they gave her what they said was a good weight loss supplement, and it ended up just being an amphetamine, like speed.
It is a good weight loss supplement.
That's what she said. She's like, yeah, that's all. That's your only metric. So that's what this reminds me of. They're like, take this pill every day for a month, you'll lose weight. I was like, that might not be an overclaim.
Yeah,
like that sentence might be accurate.
Yeah, there might be other sentences you'd be interested in.
It could come with some downsides, but
a lot of these are actually just diuretics and appetite suppressants.
They make you
that will make you lose weight.
They make you super dehydrated. They make you poo everything out. It's illegal for fighters to use it because it's so dangerous. Yeah. But it'll make the scale go down.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm glad.
All right, well. Man, somebody who asked us, this actually relates to, is there more topics? Because I know Starla asked us a question about like working with people, which is connected to this.
I have one more current event that's kind of funny, but we could skip it.
Go for it.
Well, so the Storm Area 51 event finally happened.
Oh yeah, the Naruto dude. I saw him.
So there was a Naruto runner. I don't know if you guys want to watch that video.
Did he really? Good for him.
But also,
I don't have to see it, but God bless that man.
Yeah.
A couple thousand people showed up, but only about 200-ish made it to the actual gates, and there were only 2 arrests, but otherwise everybody was pretty peaceful and had a good time.
Yeah.
And what were the arrests?
It was a party.
One was somebody drunk alcohol, and the other one was indecent exposure for peeing.
In the desert. Give him a break. Or her. I don't know who it was.
It was him, and he was peeing on the gate. So
okay.
Should have let Zer pee in Area 51.
Yeah, man. So anyways, what else do we have?
Let's do Starla.
I believe it was a question about working with people and not being snobby.
Okay, here we go. Hey, Charlie and Ben, fellow course creator and CU student here. To bounce off of the topic of live webinars for course sales, I trained under one of the most popular coaches in the coach industry who teaches similar tactics for boosting enrollments through windows of scarcity and bonuses. The whole thing always felt shady to me, and as a first-time course creator at age 26, I was made to believe that I'd be setting myself up for failure if I didn't launch according to the standards of the major course gurus.
Mm-hmm.
My course launched for the first time last year, and I decided to avoid every bit of the course marketing standard that didn't fit my personal values.
Good for you.
I 100% aligned my marketing with what I learned in CU. That month alone, I made over $100,000 in course sales.
Wow.
Nice.
My biggest challenge now is finding partners to joint venture with who also share my brand values. I would love to know more about how you select sponsors and partners for COC and CU, and how you incorporate your own brand's values into this vetting process without coming off as too good to work with, you jerk.
Interesting.
Good.
So
first of all, congrats.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Huge launch. Good for you.
A little bit more. There's a couple more.
Geez, Louise.
A little bit more. I desperately want to work with more big names and have higher level discussions with fellow course creators, but I feel like my standards are too high for the students I love that I'm willing to share them with anyone who doesn't fit my exact definition of a perfect partner. And that's about it.
So, short answer, we've never partnered.
We've never partnered.
We've never partnered for businesses, and we turned down 95% of sponsorships.
Well, also
That's the
for
short
the
answer.
exact reason that you're saying, which is if I'm going to recommend, okay, let's do an email list joint thing, I don't know what they're going to do with them unless I know and trust them completely. So that's why we haven't partnered. Now, what we have done recently is recognize that rather than wait for partners to come to us, we've gone back into our lives and asked ourselves what have been the most transformational books, courses, programs we've gone through.
So I actually have a call next week with a guy because his program was really helpful for us for our entrepreneurship journey, and we want to have an entrepreneurship program. So like, why not go promote the one that was actually really helpful to us? So we're kind of going and hunting them down.
So that's the first thing, is rather than wait and have a net to filter out people coming to you, is just look back on your own life and ask yourself, who are the books, courses, things that I would recommend to people in adjacent markets. And we're just starting this process.
You think it's helpful if I go through the 4 things that we look for in sponsors?
Yeah. And so
for sponsors, this is actually a tough thing for us. We get hit up a lot with sponsorships and they offer money that would be really nice to take. And so we realized that we didn't have a good system for this. So we came up with 4 questions. So it was, can I imagine myself in real life ever recommending this to anyone in my life? 2, does someone I know had a positive experience personally, like myself or a loved one? 3, do I want to encourage this type of consumerism? So for us, that's why we avoid watch brands and things like that, is even if we wear them, we don't want to tell everybody that they need to go be part of the consumer culture. And then 4 is, will the sponsor do well? Because sometimes we would love to work with people, but they're going to lose money, and we don't want to be the source of negative ROI for people. So that's what we ask ourselves when we're looking at sponsors. I don't know if that's helpful for you, but
yeah, those are excellent questions for sponsors, and you need 4 yeses. You have to have all 4 need to be yeses.
Yeah, and you could probably come up with something similar for a partner. Is this someone whose stuff I've personally gone through and I think is high enough quality? Do I think that the people on my list will get value from it? Do I think that this is in line with the integrity of my brand? And do I think the affiliate or the person that I'm partnering with will also benefit from the partnership? Something like that.
But the other thing is that I wouldn't presume, I mean, we've done quite well without ever partnering. You can have a completely successful business.
Was it? She did. She made $100,000.
Yeah.
That's what I was
no
saying,
partners.
Somewhere in the comment it said that you want to work with higher level people, and I actually would just ask yourself why. And if it's because you want to mastermind with high level people, you can join masterminds without promoting those projects. Actually, so you can just pay to be a part of, or you can network and connect with your own group of people. But yeah, you can connect with high level minds without selling what they sell.
Yeah.
If that's your goal. And if your goal is just to grow your business, you may be able to do it in a way that doesn't require partners. But I certainly think you're thinking about it the right way, which is your people come first, your integrity comes first, and business growth is secondary to those things. So I have no advice except for to do your thing.
Yeah,
You're doing great.
We're more, if you have a partner, we're apparently more rigid than you are in this regard. I think we've been around a little bit longer and we have 0. So I don't know that we're the best for breaking you out of that that mentality. Yeah. For better or worse. Could be for better. So hope that helps. What else?
Abraham asks, you guys have talked about free market ideas and globalization from both a business perspective and a moral perspective. What are your thoughts on libertarianism?
Okay. Do you know about libertarianism?
I do, but I don't have. This is not something that I noodle on often in my free time.
Sure. So there's a lot of different strands and strains, and I'm not familiar with all of them, and some of them might take this critique into consideration. But when I think of libertarianism, I think of the type of person who wants to maximize individual freedom while retaining what are often referred to as natural rights. So they want a government that protects their right to not be murdered, that protects contractual agreements, that protects these sorts of things. But leaves
them alone in all the areas they want to be left alone. So it doesn't tax them a lot. So they want the government to do what they want. That's the libertarian. Yeah. They want the government to do the things that they like
not every libertarian.
Pursue murderers.
There's of course,
no, but if a loved one gets murdered, I expect the government's police to come and help me.
Yeah.
But I don't want to pay a lot of taxes, and I don't want to have to contribute to things I don't care about.
Yes. Now, I think that if that's how one defines a libertarian, and this may not be you or anybody that you know, but that's what I often see is that there's this defense, there are these natural rights, and we just want the government to protect those. And
yeah, because to be clear, if you were completely libertarian and you said you had to pay for everything, including the police, that would be a really system because all the poor people would get screwed out of good.
Yes, very few people want no government. Yeah. Most people are willing to say that no government means bad things will happen to me.
It will. And the wealthy will be very protected.
No, beyond that, you will be murdered and
before
tomorrow.
That's what I'm saying. The wealthy will be very protected. They'll have the army will protect the billionaires.
So this is my
pure libertarianism.
Yeah, this is my sense. I actually probably line up with many libertarians in many areas, with the exception that I recognize that the natural rights or the rights that the libertarian wants are completely arbitrary and self-serving. Mm-hmm. There is no justification for a government to stop people from murdering someone else any more than there is for any other law, right? We agree to come together and say these are the things that we want to protect against. But nature did not have some sort of stone or edict that says here are your natural rights.
No, I know a lot of Canadians who think it's insane that we don't think healthcare is a natural right, that we think that brain surgery for cancer doesn't fall where cops fall.
And it bothers me when we talk about the way that people, this is a tangent, reference human rights as if that's something that exists independent of any. A right does not exist, period. There are no rights out there. There are agreements that we come to, and then we enforce those agreements. But the idea of a human right, not that we shouldn't try to make these agreements, but that a human right exists independent of that is just not the case. So my issue with libertarians sometimes is that they think that the rules that they would like to have are somehow special, but taxing goes above and beyond, or paying for public schools or a Head Start program is somehow different than what they would like. And what I think libertarianism can sometimes fall into is I want to be free in the ways in which are good for me and protected in the ways in which are good for me. And I want to pretend that that is somehow some sort of special arrangement, as opposed to
that's a moral edict instead of a self-interested edict.
Yes. Instead of recognizing that, look, I have an arbitrary set of things that are good for me that I'd like the government to do. Yeah. and I recognize that somebody else has an equally arbitrary set of things. And we're going to have to come together and make some sort of an agreement if we want these baseline, like, let's not kill each other or let's have some ramifications if that happens. So I think that the government does play an important role in setting the rules and the redistribution. Like, capitalism is not a natural law. Enforcing a contract is not a natural law. Owning equity when you start a business, that is an arbitrary construction of a government. And what libertarians often think of as the blank slate state of things are just the arbitrary rules of capitalism, which they happen to enjoy.
Yeah.
And so that
would
have
been born into.
Yes. And suit them and suit them well. So that would be my critique. I often, though, align with it in many ways.
That said, most of the time, Charlie's a libertarian.
Yeah. But I recognize that
it's because it works well with what Charlie wants to happen.
It works well for me, and I have understanding and respect for people who want a larger government to take a more active role, not larger than the one we have today necessarily, but a larger than libertarian government to take a more active role in setting rules that stop what often, and this is the other thing, let's pretend you move all the way towards anarchism. Let's pretend you went natural. What you have in the natural world is 99.99% of species dead, outcompeted, deleted. Now, what does that make? It makes for some of the most ruthless living machines that have ever walked the planet, right? They're survivors of the survivors. But in the short term, it is brutal.
Yeah.
In the span of any creature's life, it is a vicious existence. And I think one of the wonders of government is that it steps in and it goes, you know what? We're going to slow down the viciousness, and we're gonna curb the excesses and the success of the most successful in order to make sure that there's a floor here, so that we don't look out and find that we're like the African savannah where it's just brutal. you know? And if you're at the top of the food chain, there you are. So.
If you don't think nature's brutal, check out Nature is Metal. Because nature is brutal. It's beautiful and brutal.
Yeah. So I maybe that's a strand of libertarianism that I could get behind, but I don't think it has any special moral claim, and natural rights I just think are goofy, honestly. So yeah, that's my thought. What do you think?
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Next question.
It's Dead Loro says.
Sorry, what?
It's Dead Loro, Loro.
Okay.
Hi guys, I'm from Mexico. Huge fan of your videos since 2015.
Whoa, that's 2015.
You're an
Let
OG.
me be real. If it was 2015,
You're one of the first.
you watched our first video.
Yeah.
Because I really started. I had the Bill Clinton, but the consistent was November. So I'm going to fact check.
No, I'm not going to fact check you. I'm going to blindly say you're the man and or woman.
I've been watching since 2012.
You're awesome. I love it.
All right. So what else?
True.
I want to
OG.
I want to ask you how to not be a manipulative person if we want to have charisma. Because it surprised me you said in this podcast, because since I watched your videos, I feel like what you were telling me to do is to manipulate what other people think of me to be successful.
So how do you...
I understand the question. He's saying, I want to be charismatic. I like the people you put on your YouTube channel. I like the results of charisma.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be manipulative. And I'm confused because on the last podcast, you kind of talked about how charisma
is
manipulative.
Yeah.
And my thought is that we just have manipulation is a weird word with a very negative connotation. It's exactly the same as persuasion. And I think everything is manipulative. I think that wearing makeup is manipulative. I think that commercials are manipulative. I think that...
I like your haircut.
Yeah. I mean, anything that influences in some sense is manipulation. I think that's the definition of manipulate, is you just influence someone or something to be different than it was going to be.
And I think this is part of the disconnect, is that Ben and I use the word manipulate. I'll be like, here I am. I'm manipulating this. Like I am.
Yeah, you are.
Literally manipulating
You're
this.
influencing
Now,
it.
Is that bad?
It wouldn't have done it without you.
Yes.
It couldn't have done it without you.
Is that a bad thing? No. So I actually... This is the issue. So what your issue is that you don't want to negatively manipulate or be two-faced or any of these things. So I think...
You're trying to be a good person, which I respect. I would
yes.
just say when we say manipulate, we mean influence.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that to be charismatic is by definition, every single thing you do is influential because you're making people smile. You're changing the way they think about themselves or you. So you have to be influential, or you have to influence other people if you're going to be charismatic. It's anytime
you consider someone's reaction to something and adjust your approach, going, they're going to get angry. Let me say this tactfully.
I want to say this in the way that gets the sale, gets the person to like me, makes the person laugh, makes the person feel good. Exactly.
Making people feel good is manipulative.
Yes.
So
by our definition.
Yes.
And what we mean is just the purest form of that, which is that what you're doing has an influence and an effect.
Yes.
So it's not a negative. I think the word manipulation is often used to mean a harmful influence.
Yeah. But so here's what I do, and to answer, I think what the depth of the question is, which is how do I do this in a
well, I want to clarify
good, honest
what
way.
We're promoting or what we're proponents of.
So one, you could read Radical Honesty, which is a very, very good book.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you read that, you'll realize, one, that always, all the time, we're falling into habits of lying and dishonesty, which we want to break out of. But even when we're being honest, there's an infinite number of choices in how to express anything.
Yep.
And you can be honest in an infinite number of ways. So the point is, number one, be honest. But then two, within the realm of honesty, learn the ways that are going to be most effective towards whatever goal you have. Now, don't allow that goal to overtake the primary goal of being honest. Then that can be tricky, because sometimes you lose sight of honesty in an attempt to get a response. But you can be candid, helpful, tell everyone every meaningful piece of information they need while you're trying to sell them something, but still be incredibly persuasive in the way that you're that you're communicating. And I think that's what I try to do is try to make honesty the first order thing, and then within the playground of infinite options is go with the one that's going to be most fun, persuasive, etc.
Yeah, and the only thing I've added to honesty is transparency, which I think is different, because I used to have a thing where I was like, I never lie. And what that meant to me was I never spoke a lie. But it didn't mean that what I was saying I thought about someone to their face was what I was saying about them behind their back. And it didn't mean that I could have conversations in front of loved ones that wouldn't change if that loved one left the room. And so what I've added is honesty and transparency, and then persuasion.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of us think of a lie as something you say that isn't true, but I'm starting to, or have begun to think that it can be a lie if someone asks, oh, was that bothering you? And you don't respond at all. And then they leave and you talk about how much it bothered you. I think honesty is making it so that everybody in your life does have an accurate, not everyone important in your life, everyone you have a connection to has an accurate sense of your feelings, how you feel about them and about your life and the world, and that kind of thing.
No, that people have the meaningful information, which is, I don't need to tell my mother, first I woke up, then I exited my bed.
Yeah.
I tell her the things that in my best effort are meaningful for her to know.
Here's the real example. You can have a relationship with a significant other where you never speak untrue words to them.
Yeah.
But when you're talking to your friends and they enter the room, the conversation has to completely change because you haven't showed them what you're actually like with other people.
Yeah.
And you're afraid that they won't like you if they see you with your friends. And so everyone gets quiet and changes what they're saying. And that is, I would say, just as dishonest as just lying to them.
Sure.
So yeah.
We've gotten off the manipulation thing, but there is, in short, you can absolutely,
and then persuasion.
And you can be charismatic 100% within those parameters.
Oftentimes you'll be more charismatic.
Yes.
Weirdly enough, there's a strength to just standing up and being honest about something that isn't in your best self-interest or that might get reacted to poorly, that is far more charismatic than somebody who's always calculating and only saying things that they think will help them in the short term.
The last thing that I'll say about this is that my videos have to be, well, they don't have to be. I've decided to structure my videos in a way that is going to be appealing and useful and educational. And I'm trying to serve a lot of different masters with my videos. But one of the things is I start videos with, do this with your hand, put your thing here. And it's very calculated at the beginning of the video. And then what I try to, because those are the things that people want to know. Most people want to know, how do I get what I want in the shortest path?
Sure.
Where I try to arrive at the videos is with the mindset, which is if you can step into this mindset, those little things will begin to happen automatically for you. And it won't have to be so manipulative or calculating, but you need to have this mental shift. If I started with the mental shift,
I was just going to say,
less interesting.
If you start with the mindset, people click off. If
Yeah.
you start with the detail of how to behave, and then you explain, that's a lot of work. Remembering what to do with your hands and your eyes and your this and that. That's a lot of work. You know it'll work. This mindset will make you do it unconsciously.
Yeah.
Then people are bought in.
And weirdly enough, very meta, this is what I try to do as a way of being honest and persuasive, meaning I'm arranging things in the most persuasive order to get people to be interested and watch and stick with it, but ultimately trying to deliver by the end the goods, which is not just do this, but the
mindset behind
approach
the
the world
actions.
this way. But yeah, I think that's it. Hope that helped. We're doing it. It's gonna be a funny cut when we're just on the phone all of a sudden. Hello, Hassan.
Hey.
Hey, this is Charlie. How are you?
Oh my God! Holy shit!
I'll take that.
Ever since I got the message, I've been shaking.
That's funny,
oh my
man.
God, how are you guys?
We're great. I'm sorry that we made you wait so long. We had some technical difficulties.
No, that's fine. That's all right. That's perfectly all right.
What's up, man? I'm here as well, just so you know.
We got Ben here as
I don't
well.
want you to be confused when another voice chimes in.
Oh my God, dude, you guys are my heroes. Like, I watch all your videos. You guys.
That's awesome, man.
We're gonna do this all the time, man. This is making my day. So tell us a little bit.
Oh my God, man.
Yeah, what's going on with your question? I've read it, but in your own words.
Okay, I'm not sure if I have the same question as last time. I don't remember what I wrote. It was like 2 weeks ago. But sorry about that. Yeah,
I can refresh you if you've got one.
I remember it. It was so basically, I just started college. I'm not in college anymore, but when I was there, before I went there, I was like, I want to become super charismatic. I want to talk to a bunch of people. And Ben, I don't know your story, but Charlie, I know that like when you I don't know, in your second or third year, you went to Costa Rica, you talked to a bunch of people, and you became super social and charismatic. And what was happening with me is that I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. So I went to college, and I was terrified, like completely terrified of talking to people. And like in the first day, I talked to a bunch of people, and then like when I was done talking to them, I would feel the anxiety of the next year, like, oh, I have to do this tomorrow, and I have to talk to everyone all the time, and like it was bad. So then I kept on thinking, like, no way I can do it if I want a lot of people all the time. So like, what do you guys think? Like, do I have to do that, or can I like take it slow? Can I like talk to like 2 new people every day and do it? Because I want to do other things as well.
Of course,
like,
of course. Yeah,
games.
you've got a life. So
yeah.
Do you want to start, Ben, or
No, you can go ahead.
Okay, so what is my reaction to this?
Well, I'll start. One thing I will say, it's totally normal to be nervous when you're talking to people that you don't know. I think a lot of people think that confidence means that your heart never elevates, but I think that it means performing well or doing what you're supposed to do while that's happening. The best athletes in the world definitely still have their heart elevate in high performance situations. And not that I'm that for charisma, but I went up to a woman I was very attracted to 2 days ago, I think it was, in the street. And I promise you that when I left, my heartbeat was going a lot faster than before I saw her. So it's totally normal to feel that. It's totally normal to see someone you admire or are attracted to and have your heart elevate when you see them. So don't think that you're doing it wrong or you're a failure or you're worse than us because that happens, because that's still happening to me today.
Yeah.
And what I take pride in is not that the conversation goes poorly or well, but that I did it. And I think if you redefine success, you might find that you're proud of yourself instead of being scared of doing it again. Because in my book, if you feel fear, go up and start a conversation anyway, you won. You're a champion and you're going to become more charismatic if you do that, no matter how the conversation goes. So I think if you reframe a little bit what it means to be successful, that'll help you to enjoy the process and it'll help you to become more charismatic faster.
Mm-hmm. In addition, I think that there are the circumstances in which you're putting yourself can be of variable intensity, right? So on the far end of the spectrum might be someone that you have a crush on or you think is really pretty and you're walking up and speaking to them out of nowhere. On the other side, still a really good thing to do, but much less anxiety-inducing, is to say an extra sentence to the person who serves you food at the university cafeteria, or to speak to someone behind you in line as you're checking out of wherever you're checking out of.
And by the way, if you do that, it will actually make it much easier for you to go talk to the person that makes you uncomfortable, whether that's a business mentor or a person you're attracted to. Those small, quote unquote, easy conversations with cashiers, taxi drivers, people on the street, that actually helps you build social momentum so that you are on a roll and you are talkative when you go up to the person who in the past made you nervous.
Yeah. And so what I can say is in my own experience, when I mentioned, I talked to everyone, these were not the scariest situations. 98% of them.
And they don't have to be half-hour conversations.
No, they were asking for directions to a building because I was in a foreign country. And I also had the advantage of being able to play the dumb American, which I did to great effect.
Yeah, no, I have that advantage as well. I'm from Pakistan, so
so
in the US.
You're still trying to, whatever, a year, 2 years later, you're trying to figure out where the buildings
Hey, where's this? Hey, where's that? No, and I do it even socially. When I go out today, right? I'll get into a car. I'm talking to the Uber driver. I get out. I'm talking to the doorman. I get in. I try to talk to the first person that I see in the bar. And so that way, I'm in a social mood and I've got momentum. And so same thing when you're walking around campus, if you see anyone, one sentence, 2 sentences, when you're in line, one throwaway joke, doesn't matter if it gets a laugh. You just start to build this habit of being talkative, and you start to train your brain to think that talking to strangers is a low pressure situation. The more you get these reps, this repetition, the more your brain goes, oh, I'm not going to die if I talk to a stranger.
Yeah. And in addition, you asked, how much you should really get time off. And I think this is important.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Is to go, this is not something that I need to keep in the back of my mind 24 hours a day. In fact, I'm only going to put it at the front of my mind, and this is kind of what we do in the course, is you set a trigger for when you exit or enter a new area. So maybe if you know that you're walking into class And your trigger is, as soon as I enter through the buildings of that door, I know that what I'm going to be focused on for the next 3 minutes is saying an additional enthusiastic sentence to whoever might pass my way, whether that's a hello to someone I recognize in the hallway, a janitor there whose name I haven't gotten yet, and I introduce myself, I say, what's your name? You only have to actually turn it on for those moments. And actually what's nice about that is that does have some sort of a self-perpetuating thing where for the next hour or so, you're more likely to be in an outgoing, friendly mood. But I think the problem that I hear that you're expressing is you constantly feel like there's more that you need to be doing. And that's not the case.
I feel like I do it, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to feel good after this. And I do it, I'm like, that wasn't enough. I need to do it. Or like, I asked for directions, so it doesn't count because I didn't go up to them saying, hey, like, do you want to start a conversation? And then I just go into that spiral, and then
charisma. Weirdly enough, charisma is a very special thing in that you don't have to put in 8 hours a day to master it. 1 hour a day is so much, much. And so I was learning this while I had a full-time job. I was going into the office, putting my head down, doing Excel work I hated, but then on my lunch break, I'd go talk to strangers. That's more than enough. It's not like learning an instrument where you need to put in 10 hours a day every day to become great. And so I would definitely give yourself permission to go, do it, be on, then be proud of yourself and go, cool, rest of the day is bonus.
Is whatever happens.
We actually used to do that. We'd we call them SMART goals. And I forget what it stands for at this point, but it's these goals that are measurable that you're supposed to do. And then once you do them, you're done. And so the goal isn't to be, I'm going to talk to every person I see, or I'm going to be charismatic forever. You just go, tomorrow, I'm going to try to talk to one person. Tomorrow, I'm going to try to tell a story for 20 seconds without getting interrupted. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow, I'm not going to work on saying anything. I'm just going to work on eye contact. You pick these little things, and then you give yourself permission to feel good about them.
And the good news, I know that we're kind of piling on here, is that since you're in a closed social circle, this is not always going to be talking to new people. I mean, you're in a closed social environment, and there's nothing wrong. In fact, this is the point, in forming relationships.
Yeah, if you're working on touch, you can just work on touch within your friend group.
Yeah.
You can work on saying hi to a male friend you have and touching him on the shoulder when you do it.
So which is to say that some of these things, which will be practicable, should induce zero anxiety because you're doing it with someone that at this point you feel comfortable with. And so it might be the way that you tell a story to a friend, or like I mentioned, the simple act of saying, hey, one day you go up, you say, hey, I see you here all the time. I feel like we walk past each other in the hall. I've not introduced myself. I'm Son. Well, have a great day. The next day could be, how's it going? Right?
Yeah.
Like just that second little thing.
Yeah, you don't have to always be outdoing yourself. That's
exactly.
the other thing. You always be doing something, always be trying to work on yourself, but you don't always have to set a new bar for the hardest thing you've ever done socially.
Mm-hmm. And just to clarify, when Ben says always be working on yourself, he doesn't mean all
every day.
Hours of the day.
Once a day.
So that's what I would say is that you should be able to keep this a primary focus by setting your intention, perhaps the night before, the morning before, going in this particular environment. When I walk in the door, I will remember to do this, and then let it go, and then just live your day exactly as you would with no stress, and kind of like the gym. Which is, if you go to the gym, you don't have to go twice in the afternoon.
Yeah, you don't go lift for 8 hours. In fact, you go once, and then you feel proud of yourself for going.
Sure. And what happens over time is you develop the endurance, the social endurance to actually enjoy it over longer periods of time. So but that's the general gist of it.
Oh, guys, this is calmed me down so much. Like, I feel like this is the question I was asking myself, and I was like, I need to talk to these guys. And now because I was hanging out with my friends. I was like, okay, I can't hang out with these people and talk to strangers. And then no.
No, I'm glad you asked, because that is absolutely not the point. The point is not, because what you're essentially saying, and I hope we're not communicating this, is that you're not enough right now as you are. And that's really not the message. The message is that all of us can take tiny steps to stretch beyond our current selves in any given day. Not that we have to burst through and be completely different individuals in any given moment. No, you should spend a large portion of your day in your comfort zone. That's totally cool.
Yeah, with your friends,
with
doing
your
your
friends,
job,
doing your friends'
school,
stuff,
whatever it is. Yeah,
and then push your comfort zone in these dedicated moments. And I think that habit over time is going to be less stress-inducing, more effective than someone who just tries to go completely nuts, drops their friend group in an attempt to make. That's not the point anyway.
And the good news is, at some point it will become fun. I think with a lot of things, when you're learning to play guitar for the first time and you can't play a note because you don't know how to hold the strings, it's frustrating. And with charisma, it's the same. But at some point, if you do take these moments out of your day to work on this, your endurance for social interaction will go up, and for being uncomfortable will go up, and then you'll start to enjoy it. And then you can just do it as much as you want, because you'll be pulled to it with a carrot instead of being pulled to it by beating yourself up.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it a lot right now.
Cool. So relax.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Don't sweat it. It's not an all the time, every moment, new person thing. It's something you do with people you know, and it's something you do some of
If
the
you're
time.
talking to someone new every day, that's
Yeah.
honestly already incredible. That's great.
That's more than enough.
All right.
Cool. Anything else we can help you with?
Cool. No, that's about it.
Perfect.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Charlie. You guys are incredible. Keep doing what you're doing. Like, I'm sure you're not only you're helping like millions of people.
That's
It's an amazing thing.
yeah, that's
Cheers.
crazy to think about. Thank you, Hassan. We appreciate you writing and answering the phone.
Yeah, this is great, man. Thanks
Yeah.
for calling in.
Take care, dude.
All right, take care, guys. Bye. Thanks.
Cool. Let's wind this podcast down.
Good stuff.
Man.
You want a shameless plug CU on that? If you want to know the best habits to do each day,
Yeah, no, I'll
it's
shameless
exactly
plug.
what CU is.
Well, it makes me realize, yeah, that's what CU is.
I
It's
know.
like you don't do it all day.
No, you do it for 30 minutes. Yeah.
You watch for 20 minutes, and then you do it for less than 10.
Yeah, and then you're done.
And then you're done.
That's why people like it.
Yes, I did not realize that, and maybe at earlier points of our channel we've not made that clear, but certainly that's the goal, is not to.
No, I told you, I talked to a bunch of CU members, and that's what they half of them said the reason I got it was just for the structure.
Yeah,
just to
that's
turn
why-
my brain off, because I don't know how to implement this, and
Thinking it
it's
all the
stressful to
time.
think about.
I know,
Yeah.
and I can relate, because there was periods of my life where I certainly felt.
Oh
like
my
that.
God, it was all consuming.
Yeah, and if I missed, I beat myself up, and it's just like.
Well, I still do. I'm an expert
I'm
self-beater
an
upper.
expert self-beater. I'm not anymore. I don't care. I I don't care anymore. And my growth has reflected that. I don't care. Anyways, thanks for listening, everybody. If you want to check out our sponsor, Charisma University, that's in the description below. And this is it for podcast number. What are we on? 19? 20?
19, yeah.
Angel
19.
did not like being put
let
on
me
the
make
I wish
sure.
we had a
19.
camera on Angel. Angel did not like being put on the spot.
I did not like that question, but luckily I had the video queued. It's 19. Yeah, we're 19.
19.
All
And if
right.
you want to write in, same thing. That'll be in the description.
Yeah. If you want to post a comment as a question, we'll answer it. If you want to fill out the form, maybe we'll give you a call.
Peace.